does take a minute, a day, a few weeks. It's been such a joy. You know, I really didn't have any expectations going in, and so everything has just felt like an added gift along the way. I mean, from obviously the acknowledgement through the nominations, but also just the response of people going 2, 3, 4 times. To the memes, the Halloween costumes, the fact that it's really touched such a deep chord, kind of like culturally, and also in such a wide demographic. And so I think it's everything we could have hoped for, but that you can't ever have expectations for.
Yes. I think no one could ever have any expectations for this.
This was so unique, and you're 100% right. There were very unique acting challenges. I think I always like to put in a lot of time preparing ahead before you ever show up. But in this case, realizing that most of my scenes were alone, no dialogue. I didn't have the luxury of playing off of someone. It was really important to me to really invest, and I really combed through the script, going through every beat, so that I felt that I could really be alive. And part of that was realizing that I needed to be in dialogue with myself. During those moments, I couldn't, because I didn't have anyone else. And so that was very, very different experience. Obviously, the physicality, and I think just preparing myself for the emotional vulnerability was really kind of having to let go and strip away of any parts of my ego, insecurities, so that I could just really be all in of wherever we needed to go.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that a little bit.
And I think we all have this. It's a very intimate experience when we're alone with ourselves in front of the mirror, sometimes naked, where it's just the different thoughts, the different places that we go, the different reflections. But again, where I really anchored this for me was just that violence we can have against ourselves, the harsh judgment that we can all experience, and just kind of going into the depths of those places. And also, I think there was, in the effort, because my fear was that it would become repetitive, and that each beat would it be different. I'm having to look at myself a lot, was also staying very curious, being in that state of curiosity, so that each time I was also looking for something different as I looked at my own reflection. So uncomfortable. I like every day having to walk in and having to see it when I hated the photo, but that's another conversation. But it was really, talk about having to face your own ego. Like and so for me, every aspect of discomfort, though, was an opportunity to just use it and put it into the work. That was the most important, any of it. Any of the physical discomfort, the emotional discomfort, was just bringing it in as something to play and work with.
In terms of the physical discomfort,
yes.
You have to wear some prosthetics eventually in this film. To start with that conversation, like, what did you not know about that going in? Like, maybe that you wish you knew what that would feel like and what that would practically be like.
Okay. Well, just to give a context, so obviously it starts out with just a finger and then it completely degrades. So I was in the chair anywhere from 6 to 9.5 hours, and then a good hour and a half always to take it off. So I'll say it's an easier read on paper. But it was also part of what was interesting and to step in and tackle. What I've realized in the opportunities I've had to be talking about the experience is that, being really still that long also does allow you the time to kind of shift into a different body. Like, who is this? But I realized because you're still just inside feeling you as as you are. Once it was all done, I really needed like 3 or 4 minutes where I could just look at myself in the mirror to kind of re-imprint what the exterior was, so that I could kind of find a way of of bringing it into an alignment. Because it is a very different, I think finding the body of it was, and making sure that from when I was in the full prosthetic of the back versus when it's padded, so that there was a continuity in my physicality. You know, all those little things that you think about that you don't want other actors going, you see, that wasn't, that was inconsistent, so it's like those kind of things. But it was also part of the painful fun.
I like that, painful fun. Was there anything like specifically in the physicality that you...
About a month in the shooting of literally having to do everything hunched over, and just what that did to my body, the discomfort, like it was very painful. Spending a whole day having to be hunched over looking up at people. Yeah, does that answer that question?
Very much so. Very direct answer.
I think we were so exhausted, I'll speak for Margaret also, and we had all these plans since we were shooting in Paris of what we were gonna do, and we would get home and we would have our weekend, and it would be like, I can't move off the couch. I literally can't move. I would take a little walk with my sweet little dog, who's here, it really needed the time of recovery, just the time to kind of shed, let go before regrouping. Because every day was a different undertaking, a different challenge. And I think also from an actor's point of view, you know, I knew that I was working with a director who was a very visual and symbolic storyteller. And so a lot of her focus was very technical. And I really felt like a big part of what my job was to really be the person anchoring it in reality. And so sometimes, you know, she loved everything, as you could tell from the film, 110. And so really making sure that, and that again goes back to the prepping, so that I really understood this woman from a way that I wasn't having to reach for her, that she was there, and that thereby it allowed me to just follow my impulses in the moment.
And she's a director who likes to use a lot of takes.
Lots of takes. I mean, we in the 3 stages of the kind of getting ready for the day, it was never less than 15 takes for each of that, for those moments. And you know, it definitely is challenging, but I think, you know, it's also part of what makes our job interesting, that we work with different people who creatively have different approaches. And it was challenging. She liked sometimes starting scenes. I mean, we're very used to kind of a format of, let's start wide and then we'll move in. And she often literally started this close to your face. And where you had no spatial awareness, no sense of, you know, that relationship. And again, it's not good or bad. It just was a very different, and one that was challenging to kind of keep grounded, keep centered, and also make sure that I was keeping my own emotional thread of connectivity there.
And you're shooting in Paris, you're shooting in France. What was navigating, say, the apartment set like beyond the big picture? Because I believe the LA backdrop was a literal backdrop, it wasn't an LED screen.
It was, no, that was a very old school type of technique of a curved photograph that was able to be lit day to night.
So you're kind of living in that state, and that's
but I have to say, it was so real.
Yeah.
I felt like, wait, where do I live? You know, like it was so kind of, and it actually was a very helpful way of kind of stepping into a different world by having that. And I think in a way, because she also liked doing everything, you know, all of the effects except for very few were all practical effects.
Yeah. Can you talk a bit about, do you feel like a different kind
We
of...
haven't been writhing on the floor.
Do you feel like a different kind of actor coming out of an experience like this in any way?
So first and foremost, I look at everything as what does it give and do for me as a person. Because I feel like what we do is all in service to actually getting us to a place of greater self-love and self-acceptance. And these are just the vehicles. I feel like the liberation in this has been, in a way, as far as my work and my relationship to my work, it's been a reawakening, because I did hit a moment at the beginning of 2020, or somewhere around 2022 or end of 2021, where I really felt like maybe it was complete. Like I had done whatever I was supposed to do as an actor, and I wasn't really feeling that work was coming to me that felt meaningful or memorable or challenging. And I definitely hit a place that felt like I had a lot of grief even around that. And I thought, but if I don't know the answer, if I don't know 100% that it's done for me, that I have done this, then I really need to look at what I'm doing, how I'm holding myself. And if I'm feeling I don't belong, then why would anybody else think I belong? And as I kind of processed that, 2 weeks later, this script came.
Wow.
And it re-energized my love of what I do, and in a way, and then just personally by exploring something that was showing the places emotionally, physically, that you might generally want to hide of yourself, by saying this is who I am, this is all of me that I'm pouring into this. I felt very liberated, very free, and in a way that makes me feel very excited for where it can go next.
I think we're all with you there.
Wow.
Wow.
This is a very personal story for the director. I think the way she envisioned it was very detailed. The script that she presented to both Margaret and I, and to all the actors, was very, very detailed. As I said, she's a very visual, symbolic storyteller, and I think the ending, again, visually, I don't think we fully comprehended where it might go, but I think that it was definitely laid out. And I think it's the part where, in all honesty, I read this and I was like, wow, this could be amazing. Like how it's delving into the subject, the way it's going, it is so unique. And I also thought it could be a fucking disaster. Because it really was asking a lot, and I had a wonderful conversation, Q&A with Guillermo del Toro, and he said, some people think going over the top, it actually is an easier path. But in fact, it's more challenging, because the line you have to ride is so, so, so delicate to really have it not go too far. I think this was very important to Coralie, that idea of the blood being spilled, that has, in a sense, been spilled on, in particular, women, through the kind of beauty standards that have existed. So I think the boob popping out, all of it, very important. Very important to her.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you.